So first of all, I must be very thankful to you for accepting my invitation, Father. I'm very glad.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you are here, and within a very short period of time, you accepted my invitation. Uh, Here I am with me, Dr. Michael Calabria. He has got an experience of over 30 years in education field. He is now currently working in Saint Bonaventure University in US. So can you give me a little insight about your teaching experience, Father?
Yes, well, I am the director of the Center for Arab and Islamic Studies at St.
Yes.
Bonaventure, and I teach courses in the Arabic language and in many aspects of Islamic studies.
Okay, Father. Uh, so let me have an interaction with you related to your subjects. So the courses, what you have taught, I've just gone through your profile. You have been teaching about elementary Arabic, advanced intermediate Arabic, and mostly related to Islamic art and architecture. Can you please tell me, Father, how you got interest in these things? What made you read
When
them?
I was in university as an undergraduate, I was studying Egyptology, the study of ancient Egypt, and I was doing archaeological work in Egypt. And I had no experience of Islam before I went to Egypt. It was 1981
Okay.
was my first trip to Egypt, and it was there that I first heard the azan
Mhm.
and actually saw Islam being practiced because in the 1980s there were, of course, Muslims in the U.S., but they were not very visible.
Okay.
And that was my first experience of Islam, and it ignited my interest in Islam.
Okay, Father. Very well. So you have been teaching English over there, right? In Egypt.
In recent years, I have taught have taught English in Egypt. Yeah.
Egypt. Okay, okay, Father. So let me have my first question for you. It is about how do you define spirituality, Father? So how do you apply it in your everyday life?
Spirituality is a very difficult word to define, and you will get different definitions from different people. The way I understand spirituality, it is our experience of the divine, of God. So religion tends to describe what people believe or what you're asked to believe by your faith community, how you are expected to practice that religion. But spirituality is more about how I experience the divine, how I experience God or Allah, however it is that you call God. It's my personal experience of God. So, for example, when I am out in natural surroundings, out in nature, frequently I have a very strong, powerful experience of God. So that would be part of my spirituality. So people experience the divine in many different ways. So spirituality is particular to the individual. And so what we find is that people who have similar spiritualities tend to be together, right? Because you have something in common. So spirituality is a much more subjective experience of the divine.
So it's something like, every moment which we cherish, every moment which we remember God, that becomes a spirituality, right, Father?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
Okay.
it's really our own personal relationship
Relationship.
too. Um,
Absolutely.
it's how you could describe your relationship with the divine, with God.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Father. Uh, so next question for you is, can you please elaborate me about interfaith dialogues? Because when I was just viewing your profile, I've come across so many books as well as so many presentations which you have given, which was related to the interfaith dialogues between different communities. So can you just give me an insight about it further?
Yeah, I think, again, if you ask different people about interfaith dialogue, they will answer differently. I think interfaith dialogue has become much more significant in the 21st century. And that has to do with, from the American perspective, a lot of it has to do with the events of 9/11 and the emergence of terrorism that has been perpetrated in the name of religion. And so people needed to come to understand what various religions are. And so, particularly in the US, most Americans did not have and still do not have a good understanding of Islam. And so interfaith dialogue becomes a way for people to know one another, to get to know one another. Of course, this has been going on for hundreds of years, thousands of years, on a very informal basis, right? Because particularly in the Middle East, in South Asia, people of different religions have lived with one another for many, many centuries. In the US, this has not been the case for a very long time. So we are a little behind the times, if you will, and in Europe as well, a little bit behind the times. Only recently in Europe, with the increased immigration from Muslim countries. So now there is a real need for people to know one another and to understand one another. And so interreligious dialogue helps us to really get to know one another, so that we're not strangers, that we understand that we are brothers and sisters. Regardless of our religion, we are brothers and sisters in humanity. So I see interreligious dialogue as a very important way for creating a human family, not families only within one's religious community, but a universal family.
So how is the situation currently in US, Father? Still, do they see Muslims in that negative aspect, or the situations have changed now?
I think some has changed. I think, again, because of the very tragic events of 9/11,
Absolutely.
some Americans really made a very concerted effort to learn what Islam is, and to distinguish it from the forms of violence that are perpetrated allegedly by Muslims. I don't call terrorists Muslims because you can't be a Muslim and be a terrorist. It doesn't make any sense. So I think some Americans have made a concerted effort to learn about Islam, and there has been some progress. But still, I think there is a lot of ignorance around Islam. So some progress, but still some needed growth needs to happen.
But anyhow, since the collaborative learning as well as the collaboration in any field, whether it is science or technology or education, so I think both Muslims, Christians, and other community people are doing work together compared to the previous one. I mean, some 10 years back or 15 years back. That's what I felt now.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what you felt is the major difference between Christianity as well as Islam, Father? So, as per your point of view.
I think, from my perspective, as someone who is a priest in that tradition, who has studied theology, from my perspective, the major difference between Christianity and Islam is a three-letter word, S-O-N, son. Because in Christianity, Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God. But of course, this is not the case in Islam, where Jesus, Isa, alayhim salam, is a prophet of God. I think, though, that this is a problem of terminology more than anything else. You know the story of when the early Muslim community was being persecuted in Mecca, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent the community to Ethiopia, to Abyssinia. And the Abyssinian king asked them, what is it that you believe about Isa? Because the Quraysh were trying to discredit the Muslims before the Negus, the Abyssinian king. And when the Muslims described, it was Jafar who recited, I believe, from Surah Al-Maryam, what had been revealed to the Prophet about Isa. The Christian king said, the difference between what you believe and what we believe is no bigger than the small stick. So I think really there is only this three-letter word that gets in our way between Christians and Muslims. But when you look at all of the world religions, really, Christianity and Islam are most similar as far as their view of Jesus. Most other religions do not even have a view of Jesus, right? So if you ask Jewish people about Jesus, well, they think he's just a teacher. I don't know what other traditions will say, but many traditions won't even care about Jesus. But for Islam, Isa alayhim salam is very important, as is Maryam. So I think we have more in common than where we differ. And so if we can understand that our faith traditions are limited by our words, by our language, then I think we can enter into a more humble exchange.
Yes, Father, absolutely. And my next question to you is, you have been doing a lot of research on Indian scriptures, as well as the Quranic verses, as well as the Mughal emperor's contribution on the calligraphy and other monuments. So what's your opinion on that? As nowadays in India, some leftists are trying to tamper the history of Mughals, what they have done. So out of this, what do you have to say, Father?
Yes, I just spoke at Jamia Millia Islamia in Delhi this week, and I was talking about the controversies surrounding the Taj Mahal.
Absolutely.
I don't think there are truly any controversies about the Mughal. I think the problem is people are creating controversies where there are none. Any attempt to say that the Mughals don't belong to Indian history, that they are simply invaders, that conquered India and ruled India, I think this is a misreading of history. It is illogical. It is anti-intellectual. And so I always point out to people, for example, that Shah Jahan's mother was Hindu Rajput.
Absolutely.
Shah Jahan's grandmother was Hindu Rajput. So when you look at the Mughals, particularly from Jahangir down, the Mughals are so much tied into the culture and even the bloodline of India that you cannot separate them.
Right. Right from the era of Akbar, it happened, right? Because Akbar Akbar is one of the kings whom every community people loved most.
Yeah, it is a mythology that they are not part of India. I mean, again, when you look at people like Jahangir and Shah Jahan, they are thoroughly Indian because of their bloodlines that are tied to the Rajputs. So how can you say that they're not Indian? How could you say that they are invaders? And the very culture that the Mughals produced is a combination of Central Asian and South Asian cultures. We see this throughout the Mughal period. The Mughals are not an import. They are a blending of Central Asia and South Asia people and culture.
So, you have shown interest in Arabic. Have you ever shown interest in learning Urdu as well, Father? Urdu language.
Yes, I would like to. I have I have many things going
Yes,
on right now, but yes, of course, languages are very important
very important.
for academic study. Yes.
Yeah, because most of the history which was written in India, either it was written in Persian language or it was in Urdu.
Persian.
Yeah.
Yes, Urdu is slightly later than the period that I'm interested in.
I
So
see.
it's really Persian that is the language of the court. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because some 50 years back, Urdu was given a lot of importance in India, but right now, slowly it is getting vanished. And
Yeah.
that is the reason why I feel that there are tamperings being done in the history, in erasing the real history of Mughals or whatever it is. Uh, my next question to you is, which is your favorite work of Shah Jahan, Father?
I think it must be the Taj for me, as it is for
Taj.
many people.
Absolutely.
Um, and I think it's because I feel that the inspiration for the Taj is transcendent. That it is so perfect and so beautiful that for me it reflects the inspiration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely.
It is of this world in some way because it is a physical structure, but in
Mm.
some ways it is from another world.
Because most of the people they still think that Shah Jahan made it in the memory of his wife. It's a symbol of love. But as per my point of view, I look it as an architecture marvel. So, what's your say on this, Father?
My feeling, as I spoke the other day in Delhi, that it certainly is a monument of love for Mumtaz Mahal.
Mhm.
Shah Jahan and Mumtaz had a very close relationship. She was a
Relationship.
very strong supporter of him, and of course, the mother of most of his children. But for me, the Taj Mahal is above all a monument of faith. And the reason I say that is because of the extensive Quranic inscriptions in the Taj Mahal on the darwaza, on the mausoleum, particularly on the outside of the mausoleum and inside the mausoleum. So the Taj is for me the Quran of Shah Jahan.
Okay. So, which means whatever he has experienced in his life, on the context of Quran, he has expressed it in the view of Taj Mahal.
Yes,
I get it.
I think that he wants to take the most important teachings of Islam that he and his calligrapher Amanat Khan
Mm.
drew from the surahs of the Quran and put them in the Taj.
Uh, Now let's come back to the recent thing, which I just wanted to ask. This is like a personal question for you, Father. So, what you felt when you interacted among Muslims? So, the Muslim culture and nature same as in American Muslims, or you felt any difference when you interacted with other countries, other people, like in Middle East as well as Indian Muslims?
Yeah, as I said, my first experience of Islam was in the Middle East, where it is, of course, the majority religion. In the US, it is a minority religion. It's about 1% of the American population is Muslim. Um, American Muslims are, as on the whole, very successful. Many of them are professionals. So American Muslims have a very good standing in the U.S. Many of them are doctors, are in other professions. And they fit in well into American society. And now, of course, it's not simply immigrants, Muslim immigrants. You have Muslims of many generations born in the U.S. And actually, Muslims have been in the U.S. Longer than, for example, my ancestors, because Muslims arrived first in the Americas as slaves from West Africa. We know that about a third of all of the African slaves taken to the Americas were in fact Muslim, and over time they were not allowed to practice their religion. So, but now in the US, I think for the most part, Muslims are doing well in the United States, because they are part of what the United States is. I understand that that is very different. Unfortunately, for political reasons, I understand the challenges right now for Muslims in South Asia. And it is very sad for me to see this, because it seems to me such a betrayal of what India was created to be, what it is supposed to be.
And my last question to you is about what's your message to people towards peace and humanity, Father? How do you look at it?
I don't think we have any other option than peace. If we don't have peace, then we are going to constantly have problems. We will constantly have war. My particular spirituality, since you began with that, and I will end with this, is a concept derived from the teachings of Ibn Arabi, the great Muslim sheikh, who really spoke in terms of wahdat al-wujud, the oneness of being. And this is very much formative in my own spirituality, that what we see is one existence that belongs to God, Allah, and that all of us only borrow our existence, but everyone shares in the one existence of God. And if everyone and everything is sharing in the one existence of God, then we are all sisters and brothers to one another and to every living thing.
So that's your say on that. So how was your experience in India? You have recently been in India now also. Experience here?
I'm very happy to be back in India. It has been 3 years, so I'm very happy to be back to continue my work, and of course to spend time with my friends here.
Absolutely. Please spare your time to visit our hometown as well, Father, if possible.
Inshallah.
So thank you very much, Father. In a very short period
of time,
in a very short period of time, you accepted my invitation and you joined with me for this conversation. I just thought to have this conversation for almost an hour, but then I don't know how the audience reaction will be. But I got very precise answers to whatever the questions I have asked you, and I'm very thankful to you, Father. I'm very glad that you joined me, and let's pray for that this particular meeting will help us to will help the people to get an insight about different religions, about the spirituality, and about the peace. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Have a good day, Father.
Thank you. Bye-bye.